Thomason, and here at Startup Hack, we love to train software developers in our licensed coding boot camps and build custom software solutions. So I do a lot of work as a fractional CTO. With over a decade of executive leadership and a solid 25 years in software development, I've mastered the art of transforming technology, teams, and products. So today we're tackling a massive question that's been making waves across the tech world. Can SearchGPT, OpenAI's competitor, beat Google Search? Google's been the dominant force in the search engine for so many years that when I ask my kids what it's like to live without Google, they literally can't think about it. But with AI advancements like SearchGPT entering the game, is Google about to face a serious competition? Let's dive in and we'll talk about this today. All right. So today we're going to tackle this massive question. I tease my kids all the time and tell them, hey, I graduated from college without Google, and they literally cannot comprehend that. So Google's been the king of search for so long that we literally can't even think about somebody actually trying to rival them. So let's talk about what makes SearchGPT different from Google Search. SearchGPT focuses on contextual understanding and generating answers based on deep language models. It's not just about keyword matching like Google. It attempts to understand the nuance of your query. Imagine asking something vague like best vacation spot for families in 2024. And instead of just listing travel websites, SearchGPT interprets your question with real-world context, or at least it tries to. This could be a game changer for how we look at search engines, but Google search algorithms are deeply rooted in years of refinement, not to mention a massive trove of data. So it's definitely not going to go down without a fight. And we're going to talk about some of this today here. So one of the biggest advantages of SearchGPT is how it handles ambiguity. Google is great at finding the most relevant page, but it struggles with queries that are poorly phrased or open-ended. So SearchGPT, on the other hand, excels at narrowing down what you meant to ask. This ability to handle conversational or unclear queries gives an edge in user experience. However, it's still really in the early days, and Google is certainly no stranger to innovation. So, so we can see how Google tries to pull ahead. Now, here's where Google pulls ahead is speed. Google is just super fast, and it's capable of returning results in milliseconds, if not microseconds. SearchGPT, while impressive in its depth and understanding, doesn't quite have the speed advantage. And let's be real, sometimes you just want a quick answer, not a deep dive. As we know, it's not all about speed sometimes. Sometimes quality trumps speed. So this is where the battle starts to get really interested. Now, here at Startup Hack, we love to make sure that we help companies build custom software solutions. So if your company is struggling with disconnected systems, reach out because we can help you guys in a small project to help get those connected. Now, another area where SearchGPT could outshine Google is personalization. Google tailors your search results based on your history, location, and a bunch of other factors. But SearchGPT takes it a step further by adapting it to answers based on contextual understanding over time, i.e., it tries to learn about you. Now, imagine a search engine that not only knows what you're asking, but understands your preferences after prolonged use. That's pretty wild thought, right? It could mean search become more like a conversation where SearchGPT learns from your interactions to provide even better answers. But let's not forget about Google's bread and butter, the ads. Google is a behemoth when it comes to monetizing search through ads, and that's not going to change anytime soon. In contrast, SearchGPT's ad model is still developing, but here's the kicker. Users may prefer SearchGPT because it provides fewer ads or more contextually relevant results. Google could adapt, of course, but the idea of a more organic search experience with fewer interruptions might lure people away. So ads can be annoying, especially when they dominate the top of your search page. Now, what about niche queries? Google is amazing for general searches, but if you've ever tried to find something super specific, you might have noticed that it doesn't always hit the mark. SearchGPT, on the other hand, could excel in some of these niche areas thanks to AI-driven approach. Whether it's highly technical searches or obscure questions, SearchGPT's depth of understanding might make it a little bit better of a tool for certain industries. However, developers and researchers or even hobbyists could benefit from deeper search. But sometimes I think this nuance, and I think SearchGPT trying to make it seem like it knows, can actually give some false positives, which can also be super dangerous as well. So another critical element in the showdown is trust. Google has built a reputation over decades for providing reliable, vetted information. Though, let's be honest, it's not without its biases. SearchGPT, being a product of OpenAI, raises questions about where it pulls the information and how it verifies its sources. As a developer who's seen tech rise and fall over 25 years, I can tell you that trust is key in adoption. If SearchGPT can prove that its results are accurate, unbiased, and reliable, it could pose as a serious threat to Google. But I think the fact that it has to still only work off of a trained model still gives it a limitation and is always going to end up showing its bias. And that's at least my take on it. But I'd be curious to hear what you guys think. The best compliment that you can give me is to leave comments here as I'm making these videos. I love having great discussions, and it's definitely the best compliment that I can give and the best thank you for bringing you these videos. Now, let's address the other elephant in the room, is data privacy. Google knows everything about you, what you search, where you are, what you want to buy. For some, that's a little unsettling, but it's the reality of the world we live in. SearchGPT, depending on how it evolves, might offer more privacy-conscious alternative, appealing to some users who are tired of having their every move tracked. But let's be honest. Privacy can come at a cost, and SearchGPT maintains its performance without leveraging as much user or can it do as well without the user data that Google has. So that's, I think, going to ultimately prove to be one of the big differentiators here, is just the serious volumes and volumes of Google data that it has on us, and that Google has on us. And then there's the developer ecosystem. Google Search integrates seamlessly with tons of Google services: Google Maps, Google Shopping, Google Flights, name it, Google everything, right? You name it, and Google knows something about it for us. So developers love the Google API ecosystem because it's robust and well documented. For SearchGPT to really compete, it's going to need a solid developer ecosystem of its own. Now, the good news is that OpenAI is known for fostering collaborative environment, but I think it's really way behind, about 2 decades behind the game in this. Now, I mean, a lot of times late players do come with some advantages, but I think trying to dethrone Google is going to definitely be a big challenge. So, and then I think the next point where we talk about scalability. Google handles billions of search requests every day. Yeah, billions. I mean, I think billions is even small, because billions of people use Google every single day. And those billions of people are likely doing a ton of searches every day. So we're probably talking about tens to hundreds of billions of searches every day. SearchGPT, while promising, still has to prove that it can scale to those kind of levels while maintaining performance. And right now, it's definitely slower. So if it can't even handle the sheer volume of searches that Google does, it will remain a niche tool rather than a Google killer. But don't underestimate the power of AI. With the right infrastructure and improvement, SearchGPT can scale rapidly, and we might witness a shift in the search landscape. So one thing that SearchGPT has going for it is its potential to democratize search. Because it's AI-driven and not as dependent on traditional search algorithms, it could be more accessible to regions where Google is not as prevalent. So imagine a world where AI-driven search tools are available to everyone, regardless of location or economic standing. While Google is global, SearchGPT's flexibility could allow it to target underserved areas in a way that Google hasn't so far. Now, I think that's going to be a tough stretch, and I think that's a bit that we got from an article, because at the same time, I think it's going to be real, Google's in everywhere, right? Google is in almost every country, whereas AI has had some really hard time penetrating into some countries. So for innovation, Google has been the king of search for so long that in some ways it has less incentive to innovate. Now, I don't think we've seen that. I don't think we've seen Google sitting on its haunches with AI. In fact, it's tried to move so quickly we've seen it get wrong. But SearchGPT, on the other hand, is a hungry underdog. History shows that the big guys don't always stay on top forever. Just look at Intel, IBM, lots of others before. New technologies emerge, and sometimes they completely revolutionize the market. Could SearchGPT be the David to Google's Goliath? Now, only time will tell, but let's jump in and take a look at some of these that we're seeing right now today, right? And so, so this is the SearchGPT prototype, and right now the wait list for it's closed. But so all we can see is kind of take their word for what we're seeing here. And so you can see that you get a search box, not all that different to what you get from Google. It then provides, we're testing SearchGPT, a prototype of a new search features to combine strength of our AI model with information from the web. And so that's what's going to be really, again, the tough, that's the part that's kind of tough is, it says they're doing it combined with information from the web. What information, what have they been trained on? And that ultimately is an AI model is only good as the data that you can train it on. So they would have to have some kind of search index similar to what Google has to even be remotely competitive. Now, the difference is they're saying that it can give you a human context, right? Designed to give you an answer. SearchGPT will quickly and directly respond to your questions up to date. Now, again, it's only as good as what its sources are. And so if Google has more, has the ability to index more news sources, and somebody goes and search for a more recent update, AI is only going to be as good as the model that it's searching on. So it's an interesting point, and a lot of it so far, I hear a whole bunch of buzzwords. So I think the jury's still out. I think ultimately at the end of the day, OpenAI is going to have to really try to amass some level of knowledge that Google has, which is just huge. Now, one of the things you can see I searched here for, I ride a KX250X. I race dirt bikes with my boys. And so I just searched, hey, what was the oil capacity? Now, in the olden days, your response would have been like, Thumper Talk or some other, forums that talk about this, or maybe a service manual, right? Or Partzilla, how to change oil, right? Now, Google, because of this trove of data, is giving you these, Search Lab AI overview, right? And it tries to give you the capacity. And in this case, it actually is right? And so it tries to give you all of the, and you can say show more. Now, there's a lot of people who are a lot of advertisers who don't love this, because now we've just hopped all of the search rankings that people have been so desperately working on for years. Now you see some of the ad search over here, right? And it does some of it, but by just giving the answer straight up, Google is going to kind of cut out some of its own bread and butter, which is some of these people who have paid and worked so hard to get into search. And so if one of these were sponsored, it would actually be below this fold where I'm seeing, the search results. And so this is going to be a really tough balance for Google to try to compete in this space, because they're going to be cutting out a lot of their own revenue in the meantime and killing a lot of their main bread and butter, which is their search ad revenue. So it's going to be a tricky balance, and this is going to force Google to innovate. I always have said I'm pro-capitalism. I believe that every time that we get competition, the winner is the consumer. And so I definitely see this as a classic example of that. Now, the only danger to this sometimes is I've seen very frequently where the answer that Google chooses here is frankly wrong. And so like in this case, there's a finite real result. There's a real amount of oil you should put into a KX250X, which is a dirt bike, right? And so in these kind of a case, there is a right and wrong answer. Now, when you get into some of Google searches where there's an opinion of an answer, not a right or wrong answer, or not a finite answer, then that's where you get to some more interesting concepts. But this is where we're going to see this evolve over the next couple of years. And I think it's good. I think competition is good. And again, like I said, I think when we have competition, the consumer, are the winners. Now, so we've talked about a lot of points where SearchGPT could potentially start to really infringe on Google search. And we've covered everything now from SearchGPT handling ambiguity to its potential for personalization, to how it competes with Google's speed, which is definitely slower. And then we've still seen, is the scalability is going to definitely be a question, because Google even prides themselves so much in how fast their search results are that they give you the search, the amount of time it took for the search right at the top of the search. And they've done that since their inception. Now, SearchGPT offers some other unique advantages, like better handling of niche queries and the ability to converse with it like a human. But Google, I don't think, is going to sit on their haunches, and I think they're going to continue to try to keep this battle close. So what do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Here at Startup Hack, we love to train software developers in our coding boot camps, as well as build custom software solutions for your companies. So if your company has disconnected systems and you're wasting time because of disconnected systems, hit us up. Check out startuphack.com/Spencer, and we'd love to help build you some custom software. Reach out, because we'd love to help, and otherwise we will catch you guys next time. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, because we bring you lots of great tutorials and tips that every developer should know. See you next time.